Hello again. Now, there's an urgent need for South Africa to address gender-based violence, xenophobia and corruption. That's according to the United Nations Universal Periodic Review Working Group session that's taking place this week in Geneva, in Switzerland. The group has raised its list of concerns on the lack of progress being made on some of these matters. Deputy Justice Minister John Jeffery is leading South Africa's delegation to these discussions in Geneva. He joins us now from Switzerland via Zoom just to get the latest. Deputy Minister, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Welcome to today here on eNCA. I don't know if you've seen the headlines, like South Africa has been grilled by the UN panel, and in terms of those concerns that are being addressed. What is your sense of how your explanations and your presentations have been received?
Good afternoon, Dan, and good afternoon to all the viewers. Maybe just to explain the process, this is a four-year process that takes place every 4 years. And it's effectively a review by the United Nations Human Rights Council. We submit a report on progress over the 4 years. Civil society bodies are then able to submit shadow reports. And then we go before the council, or the working group as it is, and we went before them on Wednesday. We give our opening statement. And then countries, there are about 118, 120 of them, have 1 minute to raise issues and to make recommendations. We then respond, part of the team, the members of the team respond. And right now we are waiting for the adoption of the report with the recommendations from the countries. So we will see exactly what it says. We, however, feel the process on Wednesday went very well. That the country's responses were well received. I've seen the report in, I think it was the Mail and Guardian, which gives a slightly different spin on things. Yes, issues of GBV, xenophobia, human trafficking, hate crimes, hate speech were raised. But as I said, there were 120 odd countries who made comments and made statements.
Yeah.
But obviously we welcome this process and we accept, seeing the emphasis, there was a lot of emphasis on GBV. I don't think it's fair to say it was criticized for lack of progress. I'm not sure where that came from, but that wasn't the meeting that I was in. Concerns were raised and recommendations were raised. Things like the issues of the Gender-Based Violence Council to be established, those kinds of things. But look, we know we have a problem of GBV in South Africa.
And we have a problem with xenophobia, and you've admitted that...
We have a problem with xenophobia. We have a problem with corruption. We've got a number of problems.
Yeah. So what kind of interventions did you share with the United Nations Working Group? I'm calling that for short, in short. What kind of interventions did you put on the table to indicate that over the last 4 years there has been progress?
Well, there's a number of documents. There's the actual report that we submitted, which was, I think, submitted in August to the Human Rights Council. Then there were further interventions made, and by the way, the process is ongoing. We've got to then indicate within a particular period of time which recommendations we are accepting, which we are noting, and we've then also got we're before the council again to complete the process early next year. But basically on GBV, the issues, as everybody knows, would be 2 presidential summits on gender-based violence and femicide, the establishment of the policy, the NSP on gender-based violence and the different pillars and the implementation of that policy. From justice's side, the rollout of more sexual offences courts, the passing of 3 very important pieces of legislation and their implementation. On sexual offences and so on.
But meanwhile, to measure progress, yes, sorry, Deputy Minister, to come in there. To measure progress, in my view, one metric that would have to show that there's progress would be a decline in the incidence of GBV. But as we heard from activists, from gender anti-GBV activists during this second presidential summit that took place in Midrand a few weeks ago, the numbers, are scary, and they don't even feel the impact of the NSP at the moment. So you can't say you are telling the United Nations there's progress.
Well, I would have thought the adoption of the NSP is something important, both the adoption and its implementation. The problem we have with gender-based violence, Dan, as you know, is it's perpetrated not by some aliens from another planet or from another country. It's perpetrated by men, us men, South African men. That's the problem. So it's questions about why are they doing it, and those are where the interventions are meant to be looking. But basically, if South African men stopped treating women badly and stopped assaulting women, we wouldn't be having this problem. But obviously, what we're doing in the interventions is tightening the provisions for when men commit domestic violence or commit femicide, murder of their intimate partners. People have been found guilty, have been sentenced to increase or long sentences for that, for rape. But the problem we've got with GBV is a societal problem, which, as the whole of the government can only do so much, it's also for society to come to the party, or other members of society to come to the party, in terms of helping the country address this problem.
Okay, before we conclude, Deputy Minister, so you're saying you're waiting for the report that will come out this afternoon, and there'll be recommendations there. Do those recommendations then become binding on your government, on the government to implement in these various challenges that we're discussing, in addition to GBV, xenophobia, corruption, protecting whistleblowers, and so on? Are you expected by the UN then to act on the recommendations so that in 4 years' time, when another review comes, you can demonstrate your implementation?
No, the way the process works is we then have time to consider the recommendations. And before the end of the year, we've got to indicate which of the recommendations as South Africa, the South African government, we accept, which we note, which we don't, which recommendations we don't accept. And then we would be reporting further in early next year on the progress being made. With this is our fourth periodic review, I think. With the last one, we accepted most of the recommendations, and we, though there were certain recommendations we didn't accept. These are recommendations coming from the different states of the world individually. So as I said, it was about 120 states that made recommendations, ranging from small countries, big countries, China, the US, Brazil, India, etc. Countries obviously have recommendations on different issues. But generally, we would, as we've heard those recommendations, we would be expecting to be accepting a large number of them.